Hey Race Talk, Matt Lewis here, and welcome back, episode 4. What a weekend. I need a vacation just from all the racing that we've experienced over the course of 2 days. Man, starting with the Xfinity race. Saturday, unbelievable. First off, Tyler Reddick, absolute machine behind the wheel of that number 2 car. I wonder if there's some hostility there between Dale Jr. and Tyler Reddick, being that he let him go last year, replaced him in the 9 car with Noah Gragson. And the thing is like, Tyler Reddick has been killing it every single week, going out there, running top 3, and putting pressure on those leaders for sure, if not leading in every race. So it's just, I thought he did well with Tyler Reddick, with Junior Motorsports. So I'm not sure what happened there to be released. I think maybe Noah Gragson had a big expectation of doing really well, and we saw this year, Noah's not really doing horrible, but he's nothing compared to what he was in trucks. I don't think Junior Motorsports together as a whole right now is really doing a whole lot. We had Michael Annett win Daytona. We've had a couple good runs by Allgaier, but nothing really crazy. So I look for them to be stepping it up here in the second half of the season. We're about to change hands in broadcasting over to NBC, and that's typically half the year. So we'll see once NBC takes over how teams react and progress for the next remainder of the year, because we are going to be entering playoffs pretty quickly. This time's going to go by, so be interesting to see. So we had the Xfinity race Saturday, and Tyler Reddick closes that one out. Bad luck for Christopher Bell. JGR seems like just like the Cup side, they had some tire issues and it's probably an issue with how they build their car and the way that affects cast and camber and all that. Something in that front end that they can't change unless they're in the shop. So hopefully they get that solved on the next mile and a half, and that's not really going to become an issue. I was really surprised during the Cup race to see Martin go in the wall, then to see Hamlin go in the wall, and Eric Jones was the test dummy, first one, right in the opening laps. So, I don't know how that didn't happen to Busch. They either caught it in time, lowered their tire pressure, or added tire pressure, whatever they had to do to counteract that, to protect them from that happening. But yeah, only one car really survived the weekend for Joe Gibbs. Now, granted, Martin came back and won the race, which I was shocked and surprised. Happy for him, but I was not anticipating a comeback like that for sure. But we'll talk about the Cup racing. So we go to F1 at Monaco. Great run. Hamilton just takes over. Beautiful race. But I want to point out Max Verstappen. He was trying. He gave it everything he got, but he had a couple things working against him. He had a 5-second penalty. So not only would he have had to pass Lewis Hamilton, he would have had to clear Lewis Hamilton by 5+ seconds to get the victory. Otherwise, he was just going to podium. He was holding on to a second-place podium spot until he went too hard into the chicane. He took out Hamilton just a tiny bit, sent Hamilton through the shortcut as opposed to around the chicane, and ultimately had to be investigated on the incident, both for Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen. One, to make sure that Hamilton had no other option but to go through the shortcut and skip it, as well as the contact between Verstappen and Hamilton, as far as if that was ungentlemanlike. So, he got a penalty. He ended up finishing 4th because Vettel ended up taking 2nd, and that moved Bottas to 3rd. So 2 Mercedes and a Ferrari make out your top 3 on the podium, and it was just, honestly, everyone was just happy to honor Niki Lauda and to as a former driver of Ferrari and working with Mercedes in this era, like I said, just something that cannot be replaced. So, yeah. Then we roll off into the Indy 500. What a spectacle that is every year. I'm always impressed by the crowds. This year they had Danica Patrick in the broadcast booth along with Dale Jr. I'll be totally honest with you. I did not enjoy the broadcast. I feel like they were too scripted and out of character for that situation. Even knowing Danica comes from an open wheel background, raced Indy cars, it felt very fake and not very fluent. And I wish I would stop putting Dale Jr. in those positions because I feel like he's not very comfortable with them. Not that he's not willing to do stuff like that, but it just does not seem like him. Like, let the man talk from his own mind about the racing and what he's experiencing rather than reading what somebody wants him to say off the screen. It was not very appealing. Just off the broadcasting alone, I'd want to shut off the TV if I weren't a fan. So my two cents there. But we saw Simon Pagenaud right out the gates be strong. I said it earlier last week in the episode that Penske was looking like they were going to win this thing. Roger Penske's got something like 18 now Indianapolis 500 victories, which is absolutely insane. I did predict Will Power to win it. That did not happen, although he did show points of strength throughout the race. But ultimately, Simon Pagenaud, Alexander Rossi, Ed Carpenter, very impressed with Ed Carpenter. I kind of hoping he was going to seal the deal. Towards the end there, Akuma Sada, he come from nowhere. He's a former winner, so he knows what it takes. And I think if there were maybe 5 to 10 laps left, he could have maybe had something for those front runners. But ultimately, Simon Pagenaud was not going to be denied, taking Penske to victory lane and carrying that momentum into the Coca-Cola 600. So we saw a great race, very cool. Go to Charlotte. I was not expecting similar racing actually to the All-Star race due to the package differences. But as I look at it more, I feel like maybe those packages were very similar, minus the air ducts, the radiator exhaust ducts on the hood, and the minor changes in the splitter. Spoiler stayed the same. Everything else seemed to be pretty consistent. So that really kind of demonstrated what was affected in those regards to what they tested with last weekend, and I don't see a lot of difference there. So. Great race right off the start. I expected Martin Truex to be strong. I actually predicted Joey Logano to win this weekend. Being that the 22 won the 500, I had just a gut feeling that Penske was going to sweep the day. However, that did not happen, but they did show some strong cars. First half of the race, Brad Keselowski. He could put that car anywhere he wanted. He put on a great performance. However, his teammate Logano struggled 3 stages and then started coming to life and really kind of doing the opposite of what Brad was doing in the first half. Blaney showed some strength there, a little bit of speed, then kind of fell back. Overall, having a top 15 day, but nothing really to write home about. You saw Chase Elliott making some moves, being very fast. Ricky Stenhouse, for some reason, Ricky Stenhouse managed to come back and still be fast and not take out the whole field this week. So that was impressive. Good to see Ricky up there finishing top 5. Look, Chase Elliott finished 4th, Kyle Busch 3rd, Joey Logano 2nd. I mean, you can't. Alex Bowman running up front again. Another solid top 10 finish for Bowman. This one is surprising. Not because of the driver or his ability, but Christopher Buescher, the fact that he could go into the wall twice during that race and take it home 6th, that was very, very impressive for them and that organization. Jimmy Johnson in 8th, William Byron finishing in 9th. Not a bad day for him. Kevin Harvick, 10th. We saw SHR kind of showed some speed in the beginning. I don't know what happened with Clint Boyer, but he seemed to struggle most of the race. Harvick ended up falling off. He would have these runs, he'd gain the lead, look solid, and it just his car was not having it. Was not going to hold on for the long runs. But we saw Truex. He went into the wall. All Joe Gibbs pretty much had some sort of issue, minus Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin hit the wall from right front. Eric Jones right front. Martin Truex right front. But the fact was, if you look at when Martin hit the wall, he got so lucky because he was able to just minimally scrape, cause little damage, just come in for an ordinary pit stop. Luckily, a caution had also come right out, which kept him on the lead lap, and before you know it, he's right back in the top 10. And he stated on the radio earlier in the race that, yes, he hit the wall, but his car still feels fast, his steering still feels appropriate. I won't lie, I fell asleep somewhere in the middle of stage 3. I woke up and it was 2 to go, and Martin was taking the lead. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going to win a race here, because I was not expecting that. Being a Martin fan, I love it, but wow. And then for Joey Logano to come in second. I needed you to come in first, Joey. I'm not a big fan of you, but my fantasy league was depending on you, and you let me down. So, let's talk. Hey, Corey LaJoie, 12th. Great run for him. There's a couple other names. Paul Menard, 14th. David Reagan, 15th. I believe he started, this is about right when I woke up, he started last restart on pole. And old tires, everybody kind of hung on there. But 15th, started 31st, so can't complain about that. Brad Keselowski in 19th. Suarez, 18th. Hamlin, 17th after hitting the wall. That's impressive. That's how he must have cycled out. That's how that happened. Matt Tiff, Daniel Hemrick. Daniel Hemrick, not another fast car, strong car. Not making it happen. Had another incident. Bubba Wallace was running well for a while. I see he finished 25th. Yeah, so, Kurt Busch and Kyle Larson, they both, I must have missed that incident. But, man, that was some good racing. And that package deal, I think, is working quite nicely. What I was impressed with is now Kyle, at the end of the race, when they did the post-race interview, he's like, look, now I'm going to just state the package is all right, but I'm having an issue with balance. Not being too loose or not being too tight. It seems like he wants to be one way or the other. And at least he's starting to identify what his issue is with this package. And you know what? If other people can figure it out, that team can figure it out. He obviously showed some speed. Great looking race car this weekend. They're going to get that 1.5 mile package down, and he's going to click off some wins. For now, I think that package definitely suits Martin Truex. His style, he's more of a long run later in the day as the changes start to affect the car. That's when his car starts to really work. So overall, very impressed. A lot of action. You saw 3-4 wide. Cars being able to go from the top to the bottom if they were set up correctly and just hooked right up onto that track. Not a whole lot of crazy incidents, but enough to make it interesting. It's a long race. It's 5.5 hours. But more importantly, to remember everything from Memorial Day and to salute the troops who have given their lives or continue to protect us to this day, so we can live to go to these events and appreciate everything that we have. So without them, without this weekend, we never give the proper opportunity to honor them. So again, I look forward to the next track. We're going to Pocono. Obviously, big changes for Pocono coming up in the future, and I look forward to that. I think that's going to be my new track. You're going to have Truck, Xfinity, Cup, Indy Series all there one weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. So guys, stay tuned for next week. We're going to make this one kind of a short one this week since we've had such a long weekend. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing. So stay tuned. More to come.